I am Maria Figueroa, a member of your Board of Trustees. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and seasoned. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or 1,000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. Whether you join us in person or online, we're glad you're here. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. As we do each week, and as we begin our gathering, I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from occupied Puyallup and Coast Salish ancestral lands. I pay respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to their descendants and all Indigenous people. We are joining you again today in multi-platform mode. You will see some of us in the sanctuary and others zooming in online. For those meeting in person today, we invite you to join for coffee time following the service. For those in person, this facility is equipped with a hearing assistance device. Devices are available at the table in the back of the sanctuary. This afternoon at 12:30 p.m. and next weekend on Saturday and Sunday, there are opportunities for those new to our congregation and for members to connect with coffee, tea, and conversation. Reverend Linda and members of our board will be attending these gatherings, and we invite you to join us. The gathering this afternoon at 12:30 p.m. and on next Saturday will be at in-person member homes, and one gathering next Sunday afternoon will be online and on Zoom. We are also planning a family brunch event on Saturday, March 25th. Details for registering with Susan Kunkel can be found in the weekly e-news. Please register as soon as you can for these gatherings so the host can prepare for the number of guests that will attend. Drum Circle is returning on the 2nd and 4th Friday evenings, beginning on Friday, March 10th. John Hargis will be leading the group, and Fran McLaughlin is organizing. So feel free to ask Fran any questions you might have, and she's right there. So if you want to just, yeah. Game nights for adults is returning on Saturday, March 11th. And you can also see Fran McLaughlin for information for that gathering, or see the information in the e-news. As always, details for our upcoming services can be found on our website or in the e-news. Thank you to all who volunteer your time and talents to make our congregation better. Volunteer opportunities include preparing coffee and for our time together after worship, and we invite you to volunteer by emailing us at board@tahomauu.com, or you can speak to me in person. I have the old-fashioned pen and paper. Okay, and I have an announcement from Dee.
This is my first time making an announcement. I just thought I would tell everyone that. And I can't think of a better reason than to let you all know that today at noon, there is a rally to protect trans kids. This rally will be at Tollefson Plaza, which is 1548 Pacific Ave, Tacoma, Washington. My spouse and I will be attending. If you want to go with someone or you just want to hear more about it, I'll be available during the coffee hour, and then we'll be leaving at about 11:45 from the sanctuary.
Thank you, V. I saw that and I really wanted to go. Unfortunately, I had a previous engagement, but I'm really glad you brought it up. Thank you to all of you who volunteer your time and talents to make art. Oh, whoops, I read that already. Sorry, you guys. Now let us join together in worship this morning with Reverend Linda and her sermon, Living on Purpose, to consider the kind of world we are making together.
Good morning. It's good to see you all this morning. Our opening words are from Tim Haley this morning. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in stillness, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all of those people who are in our lives, those people who have brought us warmth and love, and to give thanks for the gift of life. We know that we are on a pilgrimage here for but a brief moment in time, so let us open ourselves here and now to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on earth. It is good to be together this morning. And I believe Stacy is going to introduce our chalice lighter this morning.
Indeed, I am. I'd like to invite up Alana Franklin, who is a member of our nominating committee and our membership committee. She is hosting a Zoom coffee, tea, and conversation coming up on March 5th at 2 p.m. That you can sign up for by contacting tuucmembership@gmail.com. And now join me in the unison reading for the lighting of the chalice. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come.
Let's join in singing number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive.
Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. Children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we can share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Dreams some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remain in our hearts. None the torch will lay past, with hope and no fear and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world we can be when we can share, when we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
Am I on yet? Am I there? Yes, okay. I'd like to invite the children to come up as they are willing and able. Yes, please, there you are. It's our time for all ages, and I have a story, and it's a fun story. Yeah, that wasn't as fun. That wasn't as fun as the story is. The story is much more fun than that. Hey, how are you? Yeah, I can see. So I have a story. It's called A Small Kindness. And something happens in this book, and it's maybe a little subtle. So I want you to look for something that changes as we go through the pages. And there will be pictures up there in a minute, but I want you guys to watch this one rather than that one, because this one has got more of the pictures in it. It's kind of magic, isn't it? When we do something nice, something kind for each other, it makes us better and happier. as we go. And as you go, I'm going to ask the adults to rise and to make an arch, and we're going to sing the children through the arch back to their corner. What do you think? Oh my gosh. As you go, may your heart as you go. You could, and don't. Precious love, we hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in as you go, as you go. May your heart
Now is the time for an invitation to generosity. We pause here to think about generosity. This congregation is sustained and supported by the contributions of our members and friends. There's a basket that will be passed around in the sanctuary for in-person contributions, and we also can receive your donation via text or through the homepage of our website. Thank you. Please join me in unison reading as we dedicate our offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
I invite you now to take a few moments with me to pause in a time for meditation or prayer or just stillness, as is most your custom. I want to share a breath meditation written by my colleague, Sam Trumbore. So I invite you to settle in, close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and turn inward. Feel the rhythm of your breath in and out. Find the peace of just being with the flow of your breath. Let go of yesterday and of tomorrow. Feel the restorative power of the peace of this moment. It's a peace large enough to open to the concerns and sorrows that trouble us. A stillness, still enough to respond to the joys and celebrations that enliven us. There is safety here in the rhythm of breath. The ebb and flow of life is enacted in each one. Taking in oxygen, sustenance, letting go of carbon dioxide waste. Taking in the fullness of experience, letting go of the residue that wants to cling to us. Cultivate inner peace and inner safety in this sanctuary dedicated to cultivating the spirit of life, especially expressed by our exuberant children. This sanctuary also dedicated to be a beacon of love for all beings. Let us pause, following our breath. So may it be. Amen.
Today's reading comes from Naomi Shihab Nye, called Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this too could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend.
When I took ethics back in college in the 1970s, the late 1970s, I mostly thought of philosophy as a sort of mind exercise rather than something that can assist us in living. Anybody else have that sense about philosophy? It was in the category of the reported argument by theologians. You know, we've heard of this for a while about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. The kind of mental exercise that was usually mostly useless, except for those who had the kind of brain that really liked that sort of thing. And they're out there. I know they are. Our ethics textbook did make an attempt to have relevance for the world, but then the professor, bespectacled and gray-haired, and I wrote that and then I thought, you know, dang girl. But never mind. The professor lectured from his tattered notes and focused on process rather than relevance. The how of our mental processes were the critical point for him, not the outcome. Philosophy at that time was not on my top 10 list of things that I liked to do. It might not have even made that list at all, at least for most of my life. But I have over time come to love some philosophers and to find those whose work invites me into deeper understanding. It helps me with the ways that we live our lives. Those folks who speak in plain English, right? We know about them. They're out there. And those who open new ways of being in the world. And I just recently encountered a new one. Aaron Simmons was part of an online class that I took a couple of years ago. He teaches philosophy at Furman University and is nothing like the ethics professor that I encountered many years ago. Honestly, he is a dude bro. I mean, totally a dude bro. He rides mountain bikes on mountains, right? I mean, he sounds more like a surfer than he does a professor. More surprising to me was the fact that he's an evangelical Christian who loves Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher. Even better, it's just getting better all the time. Even better, he's able to talk about philosophy in a way that allows us to deeply consider what it is we're doing in the world and helps to frame ways of thinking that helps us live in a better way. Just recently, he came to mind because he is seeking to branch out of the university and become more of a public voice, something I'm very supportive of for him. I'm a little surprised to say that we have a lot in common with him, not necessarily the mountain biking, but in wanting to make the world better. That's what he's looking for. And for all my resistance to philosophy and my suspicion that it's all up in our heads and has very little impact on the world, I also know that how we think about the world and how we frame the world, those frames that we use to make sense of the world, makes a big difference. So let's think about the world together today, taking some of the work that my now philosopher friend, Aaron, uses, or using his thoughts to take us there. In a video that he released just recently, he describes an exercise that he uses with his freshman classes when they get together and start to learn about philosophy together. He gives each one of them a copy of the campus map, and then they go out into the campus, right, to look around. And he gets them to a certain place and he says, "Can you show me where that tree is on the map?" And they all look at his map, their maps, and they look at him, and they look at the maps, and they look at him. The tree is not identified, surprisingly enough, on the campus map. What's marked on the map, of course, are the things like the cafeteria, right? And the dorms and the classrooms and all of that. They're marked because that's what the map maker cares about for this particular map. The great big green blob in the middle of the map, well, that has no interest for the people making the maps. There's nothing there that has any meaning, any significance at all. And then he pauses and he tells them about his map. He tells them about the moment he was standing over at that tree right there, when he realized that his feelings for his roommate's girlfriend were not really friendly, they were more love. Married to her now for 22 years, he tells them, the tree is an important place in his world. It is a part of his map. And one of the questions that that poses is, will we follow the map made by someone else, or do we want to follow our own map, make our own map of the world? This means being particularly thoughtful about the world that we are making, because we're always making worlds. In large measure, we don't get to choose how we find the world to be. There are a few examples of this, few better examples than the world of, we in large measure do get to choose, not don't, do get to choose how we find the world to be. And you don't find a better example than Winnie the Pooh, right? And all of the characters in the 100-Acre Woods. Think of it, there's Eeyore, the voice of doom, who is genuinely surprised when anything goes right, who has an Eeyore in their lives, who has been an Eeyore in their lives. Yes, indeed. And then there's Tigger, who knows that adventure and joy is only a bounce away. Thankfully, there are a few of them around too. And poor Piglet, who is always afraid. Each one of them has a world map that informs them, shaped both by their experiences and by the choices that they make of what is meaningful and significant to them. We all have these kinds of maps, whether we're thoughtful about the world we live in or not. The challenge that Aaron Simmons often offers his students when they're standing near that particular tree is whether the map of the world they'll follow is one made by others or one of their own making. And, you know, we have those moments when we say, well, it's just how the world is made, right? We know that. We come up against something and it's just the way the world is right now. But it's also true that we could have the courage to make our particular vision of the world more real. We can have our own particular vision of the world made real by living into it, if we have the courage to do it. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. Simmons, as he's talking about this, uses a term that I find very helpful in thinking about it. He talks about engaging in spontaneous acts of responsibility for another person. Isn't that a marvelous phrase? Spontaneous acts of responsibility for another person. You know what these are. You've done this in the world all the time. And in some measure, this is the foundation of ethics. It's just like coming to a door and holding it, opening it and holding it for someone else, right? It's a spontaneous act of responsibility for another person. So I invite you to pause for just a moment and think about that. Think about what it is in your life. Where in your life have you done something like that? Maybe not just opening a door, but a spontaneous act of kindness, spontaneous act of responsibility for another person. And just take a moment and think about that. And if you're willing, you can share that with someone who's sitting near you, and y'all online, you could drop it into the chat to share what that is. What kinds of things have you done? Taking responsibility spontaneously for another person. And go ahead, take a moment and share it with someone. And then another sentence or two, and let's come back. Stacy, did anyone share anything online that you might want to share with us out here?
There were a couple, they're still trickling in. Food to a friend whose husband is dying.
Say
A
it again,
hug.
please.
Food to a friend whose husband is dying. Meals to a friend recovering from surgery. An offer of a ride to the airport. A hug.
The spontaneous act of mind that comes back to me over many years. It astonishes me to say that almost 40 years ago, well, actually 40 years ago, well, whatever, 40 years ago, my 16th birthday, my mother bought me a Greyhound bus pass and allowed me to travel anywhere in the country that I wanted to go by bus, as long as wherever I wound up, I stayed with someone she knew. And she was very active in the Unitarian Universalist movement at that time. And so she knew people everywhere. So I went to Chicago and Vermont and San Francisco and Los Angeles and just like kind of all over the place, and Denver in particular. And when I went to Denver, I had left from Chicago and I could not sleep on the bus. I was just wide awake all the time as I was traveling along. And I had to change buses in Cheyenne, Wyoming, a place that continues to be irritating to me all these many years later. And I had to wait for a few hours. I was really tired on this Sunday morning. And to say that the town was quiet that morning is to overstate the level of excitement in the town that morning. So when the bus finally got there, I lined up to get on the bus. It was already occupied, many of the seats. And when I got right to the door, about to hand my ticket to the guy standing there, to the driver, I looked back to make eye contact with a woman I'd been talking with on the bus. And in that moment, somebody stepped in front of me and went on the bus. And the driver said, "We're full." And I said, "I'll stand the whole distance, let me on." And he said, "It's against the rules." And so I turned around, walked into the ladies' room, which had, you know, the toilets in here and then a little sitting room, went in there, sat down on the couch, put my hands over my eyes and attempted with every fiber in my body to make it all go away. You been there, my friends, right? Trying to make it go away. And I kept sitting there, my hands over my eyes, until I heard someone struggling with something. There was just a noise across from me. I knew there was someone in the room, but And I opened my eyes and there was this nun in habit trying to close her suitcase. And I got up and walked over and said, "Sister, can I help you?" And she said, "Thank you." And we closed her suitcase. And I went out and found my friend that I'd been traveling with, and we went for a walk around the very quiet place until 2 hours later, when I was able to get on a bus. And the kicker on all of this is that at the first stop, an elderly woman got on and was made to stand. So what did I do? I gave her my seat. The kindness that we move into the world, the spontaneous acts of responsibility for another person. Our lives are filled with these kinds of moments, filled with opportunities to make the particular world we dream come true. Now think about that for a minute. The particular world that we dream, a dream of kindness and caring, a dream of peace, of acceptance, of support of every person, right? Who's going to that demonstration. It's as small as opening a door for a stranger and as big as creating some measure of safety and care for people living in their cars. Something members of this congregation have created in our parking lot. It comes from a consciousness of living into a map of what is meaningful and important to us. The question that Mary Oliver asks in her poem, The Summer Day, many of you know it, I'm sure. It's an overused poem, but it is apt every day and every moment. What is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? What is it? Let's make the list. Put kindness on that list. Put being love in the world, becoming love in the world. Let us populate the world with what we hope and dream. Make the world we dream a reality, small moment by small moment. It can be done. So may it be. Amen. I invite you now to pause for a moment. If there's been something in the service today, in the words or the music that has touched you, I invite you to set an intention for how you will take it out into the world. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 1074 in our teal hymnal. And thank you, Patty, for that demonstration. Let me just talk through for a second how it goes. It may be a familiar song to some of you, and perhaps not to others. But, and for those of you who don't read music, this may be even more confusing. So what we're going to do is on that first page, we're going to sing all three of those verses, one after the other. And then we're going to come over to this, right? Is this right? We're going to come over to this, whoa-oh, what is life? Abati wa-ah, what is life? 1074. Yeah. And then we're going to come to the next page and we're going to sing, do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly, so forth and so on. And then we're going to come to this part, this whoa-oh part again. Whoa-oh. What? Oh, and then that repeats. Okay, fine. they would have caught on because they're smart. And then we do this, whoa, oh, so is life. And then there's that little phrase right there, abatiwa, right? Abatiwa, say it. Abatiwa. So it's a nice syncopated thing. And then we come over to the last page, and Patty will get you through it. Thanks. Because she's just like that. All right, let's sing.
And get up, get the blood flowing. This is going to be fun. It's okay, because I'm going to stumble over some words too, just letting you know ahead of time. Here we go. In the water, and in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Oh, is life, so is life. Whoa, so is life. So is life. Do you know who I am? Let's do that one. Who you know, who you are. See me on another clearly do. We know you is life. I'll be done. Who is life? Who is life? So is life. So is life. I'll be done. So is life. Covered is the mountain, fiery make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are from the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life, Bobby Dog. So is life. So is life, Bobby Dog. Ah, so is life. So is life, Bobby Dog. So is life. So is life, Bobby Dog. Ah, so is life. Woo! Good job.
The real task. The real task, making real the world we hope and dream, is always larger than we can accomplish. Nonetheless, let us carry on in the work of loving fiercely, of learning peace, and being kindness. So may it be for us all. Amen and blessed be.
As Linda prepares to extinguish the chalice, please join me in the unison reading. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now rise in body or in spirit to join in our closing blessing song. In the sanctuary, you're invited to rise and share in the hand movements.